What's up, guys? Montanik here from the @quiz team, and today I have something awesome for you guys. This is our GA4 audit checklist that you can use to see if your GA4 is set up for success. Also, you're gonna need lots of these things to make your Google Ads work as well, and to make sure that you're on the right path with all your analysis. So I have a Quickscan part and an audit part, and as you can understand, the audit part is a bit more, a bit bigger, and the Quickscan part is just like a quick and dirty check to see if everything is okay. And there's a data tab that's just used for this and the filling of the priorities, etc. So I'm just gonna walk you through. You can find it below in the description of the video, and today we're gonna see exactly what this is made up of. So let me move myself around a bit here. So I'm gonna summarize a few of the points. I'm not gonna go through each and every one because I think that's just too much to cover today. So I'll focus on the most important things. I think what's good for you to know is that there is nearly always a source. That means where you can find it, or a source like a Google support page or a doc with additional information in there. And one thing I want to add for you guys today as well is the data layer briefing, which I have here, and that just basically tells you what a good data layer should look like. Google also has this documentation, but I just found it more helpful to have it in a document here with some extra explanation and some examples to ensure your developer knows what that looks like. So I'm going to start with the Quickscan today, and I'm just going to pick like a few relevant topics here and things that I see going wrong often. Duplicate transaction IDs is something you really don't want to have, because transaction IDs are used to deduplicate transactions. So here you can see how you can create a report. So it's an exploration in GA4 with a dimension and a metric, and then you just get the number of transaction IDs that measured more than one transaction. If this is going wrong, it really tells you that some additional research is needed. Sometimes it goes wrong, but not in so many cases. But it does tell you that the number of transactions you're looking at and your revenue numbers are probably messed with. Also, I have some general things added here, like some anomalies. Do you see any weird numbers, lots of not set, or maybe any strange things? So when doing this, I do assume that you have some basic knowledge and that you've seen some GA4 accounts. That really helps you in understanding. Then furthermore, is it present on all pages? I think some of these things just speak for itself, so I don't want to go through everything here. All the relevant events, so I have a link here for the e-commerce, but this is also something for you to figure out, like, do we have all important events for our business in our GA4 account? I can't decide it for you. You have to do that yourself. If you know all these events and you know what to look for, then you know which events to add and things that you might be missing. That also goes for parameters and values. So sometimes the events don't really tell the whole story, like a purchase. That's nice, but you also want to know what is sold and what the revenue was, and maybe you want to know what the tax was or a discount coupon was used. That's an example of extra data that you can add. Also for the full e-commerce event set, I have that here somewhere as well. So I have it here, and then with a resource. So some of them are double because some things you check in the Quickscan and some things you check in audit, both. And here you can just see what the logic is that we use here. So I have verified that all your e-commerce events are in here. so that you know that they're tracked, and then you can also see if your e-commerce reports actually make sense. So if, for example, if you see more add to carts than purchases, would you see it the other way? That would probably be weird, and then something would be off. So that is also a good thing. Check if your e-commerce events are set up and if your e-commerce reports actually make sense. Check if your e-commerce data is valid. Okay. So I'm just gonna remove this. And if logical quantities can't speak for itself. Is Google Ads, Google Signals active? You need that to get your audiences flowing to Google Ads. I have a link here. I'm not going to go through in detail. You can read links yourself on how to activate that. You need that if you want to sync your audiences between GA4 and Google Ads. I assume you want to do that. Use IP filters, guys. No need to mess up data for, let's say, developers or you checking things on the website and then messing with your data. Referral exclusions after recording. I see I accidentally deleted this link here. You want referral exclusions. Otherwise, your referral channel will also show revenue, and that might have been attributed to bank websites or payment provider websites, which are obviously not the real referral, but Google thinks they are because someone lands on a thank you page coming from a bank because they just completed the payment. Also, link your entire marketing stack. So link Google Ads, link Search Console. Set your data retention to 14 months. I have this explained a bit more here, I believe. Yeah, exactly. So here is some additional stuff because it's basically set to 2 months, but you want some extra data when you create explorations. Explorations, sometimes you use them, for example, here when you want to check if you have any duplicate transaction IDs. And this one is actually double audience has been created. I'll clean this up. Also, import your secondary conversions. Your purchase from GA4 as a secondary conversion in Google Ads, and use your Google Ads tag as a primary conversion, guys. This is just the basic stuff. Furthermore, there are some things you can check here. Things I like to check is the automatic event detection, which should be on by default. But what I also think is important is if you created custom events yourself, and you can find so here. So check if manual custom events were created. This is really annoying. Redo that. Sorry. Yeah, so this can really get you in a loophole if you're looking for events, but you can't find them in Google Tag Manager, and just to find out later that someone created them 3 years ago in your GA4 account. Really, really annoying. Turn them off and preferably do everything through GA4. Sorry, Google Tag Manager. And I think this actually needs some context. If you use Cookiebot, you can see traffic spikes, and that is from the Cookiebot crawler that is visiting your website, crawling your pages, and checking if your consent is actually okay. You can filter everything out. It's really annoying. They don't really provide any meaningful answers themselves. So we figured out that when you use a screen resolution filter, or I believe someone on LinkedIn wrote about this. If I remember your name, I'll give you credits. Sorry, can't remember you now. Exclude this resolution and you'll be fine. Also check if your consent is okay. There's just a button called settings for consent, which tells you everything. So that is basically it for the quick scan. So this is just a quick check, seeing if GA4 was implemented properly. Remember, this is basic. If you're a web analyst or tagging expert, I can imagine you have extra points. I sometimes have extra points myself, but remember, guys, this is just for a quick scan. This is a bit more for an audit, so it's like a bit larger. But then again, it's not perfect, but it does cover most of the important stuff. Just when you want to find out, like quickly, if everything was done. Okay. It doesn't tell you anything about whether BigQuery is done correctly and if any other advanced stuff was done correctly. It also doesn't tell you anything about server-side tracking. I have separate content for that. And some of them are double as well. Again, I think that makes sense because sometimes you check things in a Quickscan and sometimes you check things in an audit. And I don't necessarily always do both. Sometimes I think a Quickscan is a better fit than an audit. Cross-domain tracking you can find so here, and that's really important when someone has different domains. So let's say a business has 5 different websites, but they only have one GA4 property, or they have an extra app maybe. An app isn't really referred to cross-domain tracking, but you get the point. Check if this is done correctly. And I really tried to keep this short so you can see if it's done correctly, but I haven't provided any fixes for when it's not done correctly, because that can really be like 10,000 different reasons. Check all access. I see this a lot. The wrong people have access. Your agency of 5 years ago really doesn't need access anymore. Some extra things here, like duplicate tracking. The data layer. Check this data layer. Perform a test purchase, guys. Always do so. Regularly do a test purchase. See if everything works. See if your data is coming back correctly. Also check if there is no personally identifiable information sent to GA4. This really goes wrong lots of times. I'm in the European Union myself, so in the EER, and we have pretty strict laws here. I know not the entire world has super strict laws, but this is really something to think about. Really take into account what you can do and what you shouldn't be doing. And then again, check that full e-commerce event set. That probably goes wrong lots of times as well. Don't mark everything as conversions, just messes up your reporting and your data. No unnecessary or duplicate events. Sometimes an event is set up in Google Tag Manager and sometimes a custom event is created in GA4. Really annoying. First time I found that, it took me hours to find out that someone had created a custom event in GA4. I did that one time, so you don't have to. Just check this. It's like a really simple check to do. You really want to see if everything works correctly. And the last one, which I think is good to mention, is test if any test traffic was filtered out. So maybe you have like a development website or staging website, or maybe your developer works from a certain IP address. That is just stuff you want to filter out and you don't want to have that in your data. Ideally, you can create a test property with a test GTM attached. There are lots of different ways to do this. I'm not going to go in detail here, but really decide for yourself if this is something that you want to do. Oh yeah, and then again, I'm not going to go in detail about, let's say, how to set up BigQuery or how to set up any of the other platforms. I might do in the future, but this is just like basic stuff to see if it's linked, but it doesn't really go into any detail here. Oh yeah, and this is like really the last one. Check your recommended event names. Sometimes it goes wrong and Google Analytics then doesn't recognize stuff. Use the recommended event names. Okay guys, so if you have any doubts, any comments, added some explanation stuff in here. So this is where you can find where to find this in GA4 with some additional context. If you want that, if you want to know, if you're curious like me, it's just always valuable. And then just decide for yourself, like, hey, do I want to start with the Quickscan, or do I really want to go in depth, maybe for a larger client, or maybe if you have like a huge GA4 account for yourself, that's something you probably just want to dive into. If you have any questions, hit me up. We at Greece, we work with senior guys only. So we also have some web analysts and some tagging experts, which I like to mess with myself as well, but I'm not really full-time tagging expert. We handle Google Ads. We grow brands using Google Ads. Love doing so. We helped over 75 brands grow and succeed on Google Ads. If your brand is stuck somewhere, hit me up. We do free audits. Let me check your setup, and we'll see how we can help you. Have a good one. Thank you.